Hello, am I audible?
Yes, madam.
Loud and clear.
All right. My name is Taonga Kapambo, and I'm the Secretary General of the Zambia Monitoring and Evaluation Association. I would like to extend a warm welcome to everyone in the Zambia Monitoring and Evaluation Association team who is here today. Before I go over the agenda, I would like to acknowledge the presence of the chairperson, the vice chairperson, and any other significant members who have joined us for this meeting, as well as all the members of protocols observed. Please feel free to ask questions and participate. While we're not clear, kindly ask through the chair or through the chat box. At this point, I'm pleased to invite the Zambia Monitoring and Evaluation Association chairperson, Mr. Kawe, to make some welcoming remarks.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay.
Loud and clear.
Thank you very much. Allow me to begin by saying thank you for taking time to join us in this activity. I want to begin by saying that, as you know, all the board members are on voluntary. We are all volunteering. We are not on full-time working for the association. So you see that sometimes we have this meeting at such times or on weekends just to look for time to do some of these activities. So we are not having this meeting around this time to discourage others from joining, but it's just to ensure that we have maximum participation from the board members who by now have knocked off from their normal work. So you bear with us that sometimes we'll call for such meetings at such times. Maybe we'll try to focus more on why we are here. I'll just quickly indicate that we have a number of board members here that have joined. They will be participating in the discussions and also in facilitating the meeting. We are, I think, less than 2 months old. We had our first meeting as a board, I think 2 weeks ago, where we discussed a number of things that we want to share with you, get your input, and agree on how we'll move forward. So I'm looking forward to your engagement, your participation, to share your thoughts. And in this round, we are really looking forward to get more input from you in participating in the activities, not only in the implementation of activities, but also in the design of the activities that we want to see. You'll be seeing a lot of activities. We are seeing a number of things changing, but we want to make sure that we've given every member an opportunity to participate in the management, in the running of the association, in the identifying of activities, but also providing a platform to use the association to help you in your career, to help you in building your capacities, but also networking to open more doors for you. So SG, I would also propose that, I'm not sure if we have a link for registration or people will use them, but I would like us to create a link that people can use to register, because from here, we'll start running. We will start running and we don't want to leave anyone behind. So let's ensure that we have the details of all the members that are joining that will help us move forward. So those are just my brief welcoming remarks. I hope they were brief. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kawe, our chair, for the wonderful welcoming remarks. Tim, Let's give him a round of applause by pressing on the clapping button. Allow me to go through the agenda for today. So the first item on the agenda is the welcoming remarks, which has already been delivered by our able chairperson. The next item will be a presentation from 1910 to 1950, which will be given by the chairperson. So this presentation will highlight the activities planned for 2023, the top priorities, and the available resources. Thereafter, we'll have a question and answer session from 1950 to 2010 hours, and I'll lead the team through it. From 2010 to 2030, the vice chairperson will run us through the 2023 technical working groups. Next, we'll have any other business from exactly 2030 to 2040, which will include an update on the meetings ZaMEA had with Ministry of Finance, as well as the ZaMEA publications and the number of board meetings that have been held so far. Then following that, Mr. Raphael Chikwampu, our vice chairperson, will give us their closing remarks. Without spending any time, I would like to invite our chair, Mr. Victor, to begin the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Do I have rights to share? Somebody can give me those rights. Somebody can give me rights to share. So, I'm still disabled. I can't share. We are now at 31. It's a good number. Okay, so I'm going to take you through some slides. Like I said, this is based on what we are about to share. As we were campaigning, we promised so many things. So we tried to document what everyone promised as the board members. We also had requested for input from members. We shared and we did a simple survey and asked members to share their thoughts of what they want to see in their association. So we've tried to summarize. And the way we've structured this, I'll keep on saying this just in case some people join late, is that we have input from you and we are summarizing it and saying this is how we move forward in terms of the association activities. So I'll begin by first highlighting, as you know, we had a strategic plan. And the strategic plan focused on these things: advocacy, capacity building, networking, professionalization. We also had some operational priorities in the current strategic plan. What we agreed to do is to update this strategic plan, or review and update, just to see if we can incorporate the current board's thoughts in this strategic plan. So what are we proposing to implement in the next it's 2 years and some months now? Time is flying. This is a summary of what we are trying to share with you. In terms of what you shared with us, in terms of what we promised, they all evolve around capacity building, professionalization, communication, advocacy, research, resource mobilization, mentorship, internship. These are some of the ideas that we heard from you. These are some of the ideas that we promised when we were campaigning. So we've tried to summarize, and thank very much to the board members that took time to read through, to think through, and summarized what we have received so far. So I'm gonna go, we've put them in these themes. We're gonna go one by one, and please take notes. If you have questions, ideas of how we will implement this, we will run through the activities, then we'll ask you to share your feedback, your thoughts. After we run through this and you give your feedback, we'll run through the thinking around the budget, then we will think about technical working groups. So as I'm going through this, I would encourage you to also think hard on where would I want to contribute to. As Victor, I want to contribute to the association. And like I was saying, this time we want you to think about what can I do for the association to move forward. The association has a big role. You hear about the expectation the government has. We were with the Ministry of Finance. They have expectations. We've been informally engaging some of these organizations. They have expectations, and I'm very confident that we have what it takes to meet their expectations. So as I'm going through these activities, think through, take notes of what have we missed? What do we need to add? To where can I contribute? Where can I contribute effectively as Brenda, as Bovile? Where can I contribute as Jerry? Where can I add value in moving this cause forward? Kunda, we have a number of you that are here. I'm excited to see Mr. Piri joining us. And all of you, Brenda, Natasha, Pungwa, Raphael, Rhoda, think about where you'd want to contribute effectively. So let me start with capacity building. What do we want to achieve? And remember that this is not final. The technical working group is going to finalize this thinking. Where do we want to go with capacity building? Is to have competent and active professional membership across all sectors and geographical location. That's what we want to have. You are competent and you are active. So the emphasis there will be on competence. What we hate and what we are proposing is that we will facilitate as an association capacity building of members in different aspects. Areas that have come out so clearly is around data collection tools, on using some of these mobile softwares like Kobo Collect, I think Excel and others. We want to build capacity in how you manage data, how you analyze data, both qualitative and quantitative. People were very clear in the softwares that they would want to learn. For instance, quantitative, Stata, ARA, Excel, and we want to improve your competency in skills such as data visualization, Power BI, Tableau, and also Excel. So this is the thinking we are having in terms of capacity building activities. We want to, we'll have very specific goals. Based on the number of the members we have, we'll have a specific target rather that we want to reach so many people or so many of our members with these skills. So the technical working group that will be finalizing this thinking, we will finalize some of this target and say, based on the members we have, we want to reach, for instance, that 75% is an example that we've been discussing, but it's something that we're going to obviously finalize. We want to have members with skills in these areas. What will drive these capacity building activities? 3 vehicles. One, we are launching the ZaMEA upskilling, which will be an annual capacity building program that will have training in aspects from data collection, like you heard, all the way up to report writing, evaluations, research. So we have a calendar that specifies the activities that will be done or the trainings that will be done. And the capacity building technical working group will be looking at this and confirming if what we have put in there is correct. The other thing we have done, let me just show you. The other thing we have done is we are going to, we have come up with some areas to strengthen the topics that we are focusing on. How do we know that this training we are proposing as ZaMEA to include in our capacity building training is relevant? How do we know that Joseph Simfukwe will benefit from this training that we are proposing? So we are doing two things to refine our areas of focus. This is just a tool that we have been using. We reviewed, I think, 25 now, job adverts from national to international M&D jobs by looking at some of these top NGOs or top organizations. For instance, here we're looking at PATH. They advertise for a position of M&D director, Food Agriculture Organization, M&D specialist, Save the Children, Evidence Action, FHI, World Vision, FHI, World Vision, they advertise different positions. We also have UNFPA, Education Development Center, UNDP, RTI, Chemonics, ILO. So they have advertised different M&D jobs using different platforms. We've looked at what skills are they looking for in these jobs that they've advertised for. We've tried to summarize what those skills are. So this is helping us to inform the M&D calendar that we are proposing, that we are going to be launching. We have a draft based on what we've seen so far from these jobs. The last thing we are doing to help us really confirm what the needs are is we are going to collect feedback from M&D practitioners, but of a certain level, like those with, let's say, above 5 years experience, practical experience in implementing M&D in a senior M&D position. We want to ask them, what skills are you looking for in M&D people at different levels? That is one part we are yet to collect to help us refine this capacity building calendar, which is ZaMEA upskilling. So this is what will inform will drive one of our key activities. We are going to get very seasoned facilitators. And the way this training, capacity building training will run is that we'll be using practical examples and we'll be using practical approaches, because at the end of it all, when somebody goes through this upskilling program that ZaMEA will be launching, we want to be at least 80% guaranteed that you've gotten those skills that will market you, will be able to put you in a position to work everywhere. So one vehicle is ZaMEA upskilling. We are also going to be implementing tailor-made trainings. We've been getting a lot of requests for different organizations that want us to do a training. So we are going to be very specific of what we can do and what we can't do. There are, I think, about 4 areas where we've identified that we are going to focus on this in tailor-made training as an association. The other area is internship that we are going to use to build capacity in members. So that's about capacity building. That's the thinking that we are entertaining. Please note your questions and your thoughts of how we can improve this. The other area is professionalization and quality assurance. Our goal is to promote standards and professional conduct among M&D professionals. What do we want to do? We want to come up with a code of ethics, and conduct booklets. We have seen that now we have a number of organizations that are requesting one to be a member of a ZaMEA before they employ them. for some, we are seeing they're asking, are you a member of the ZaMEA before they engage them as M&D practitioner? But we want that to carry weight. One, on the capacity side, we want, if you say you are a member of ZaMEA, there must be some guarantee that you have capacity. Two, there must be some guarantee that you are professional in your work. So those, for us to achieve this, we'll have the upskilling program. Then we are also developing a code of conduct that will also have penalties for your information. If you misbehave in terms of your professional work, there will be penalties. So we will be working on that, and we'll have a technical working group that will help us develop this, including a system that will help us enforce this, so that Victor Kabwe International, if he hears that this person is a member of a professional association, they'll have some form of guarantee in terms of professionalization and capacity. So we'll be focusing on this, and we're excited that very soon we will see us launching the code of conduct for M&D practitioners. And like I said, we've been engaging the ministry. These are some of the areas that they are also looking forward. Research, evaluation, and publication activities. We want to contribute to generation of evidence, generating evidence analysis and dissemination. So one, we have been working on some guidelines that will help us to coordinate participation of ZaMEA members in research and evaluation activities. These guidelines will be very clear on what we expect, for instance, to pay you if you participate based on your qualifications, based on your experience, and what is expected of you if you are participating in any research or evaluation activity under ZaMEA. So we'll be finalizing that. Luckily, there's a draft already. Then we'll be identifying and hopefully engaging in research on national issues. We already are working on a methodology that we shared with the Ministry of Finance, that we want to start contributing to the review of the 8 NDP of the National Development Plan. We want ZaMEA to give an independent view on the status of the 8 NDP. We have already done some mapping, and that's why I'm telling you that the board is running. Don't be left behind. We've already done some mapping. We are just finalizing the indicators and the possible sources of data, and we'll finalize the methodology. But that's just one. We already saw an interest from members of parliament that they want us to help generate evidence at that level. That may be another area of interest for us. But ultimately, we want to contribute to generating the evidence, analyzing data. We were told there's so much data. For instance, at the Zambia Statistics Agency, they just finished the census. And you know, census captures a lot of data. Need people to contribute to using that data set to write. There are many other studies that they do, and they have the data set. So we want to promote the culture of generating evidence as an association, but we also want to write articles, papers, briefs on different national issues. The board during the Women's Day, we published, I think, 2 or 3. There were more, but we managed just to share those articles that we wrote. Again, the board members took time to write. We had one on women in education. We had, I think, another one I've forgotten. We had also one on statistics that I think we didn't publish, but we are writing. We want everyone to contribute to this. As an association, we are composed of people that are generating evidence. They need to use that evidence to write. So we look forward to do that under this technical working group, but this is an area that involves everyone. But the technical working group that will be focusing on this will focus on coordinating some of these areas. Communication and advocacy. We have a draft M&D or draft advocacy strategy. I think advocacy strategy. In the last board, there was an advocacy strategy that was developed to try and promote the advocacy around the National Development Plan. We want to review it and put some M&D policy expectation in this advocacy strategy. We want to review it, we want to launch it, and we want to implement it. We want to promote M&D at all levels. When we were talking with the Minister of National Development or Minister of Finance, we told them that we are aiming high. We want even the president to participate in advocating for evidence-based planning and decision-making under the ZaMEA umbrella. We want ministers to contribute, and the government, specifically the ministry, I think will look to associations like ZaMEA to advocate for certain things, because in the public service, you can't really advocate for yourself. So there are issues that we have identified. There are issues that we've been discussing that we believe we can contribute to as an association, but we want to do it in a very coordinated way by putting everything in an advocacy strategy, then agreeing how we are going to be implementing. I think communication, procurement of IC materials, some branded materials is one area we've heard you loud and clear during the AGM, during certain interaction. We are going to start working on that. I know the board has already been engaging some institutions, and we are already working on launching this hopefully in the next month. On a small scale, then we can scale it up in terms of t-shirts, newsletters, and things like that. We want to enhance social media visibility. You've seen, I think you've already seen the way we are packaging our activities already on the, I think, Facebook, on LinkedIn. All that is an effort to enhance how we are advertising ourselves or packaging our activities on social media. We heard some of you, I think, during AGM and in your submission that we need to enhance student participation. That is one activity that we are already thinking about in terms of how do we bring more students to join the association, but also what activities do we do to encourage students to participate in the association, but also to build their capacity so that they benefit greatly by associating themselves with the association. We had a number of MPs that challenged us, and we are ready to support some of these activities of ensuring that we have more participation from students who are the future M&A practitioners, who are the future board members of the association. We are also entertaining and thinking about an annual award program. We have so many M&A practitioners that are doing great work across Zambia, that are going to great lengths to ensure that we are tracking the performance of different programs and budget and projects, and we are able to account for the resources that are implemented. We need to start appreciating everyone who has contributed greatly to the M&D profession in one way or another. So there will be an annual award program, but also ensuring that we are organizing networking events, conferences that ultimately will promote networking, capacity building, and things like that. So that's one of our focus area under communication and advocacy. We need resources. So resource mobilization is one very important activity. Our treasurer is saying she needs to secure adequate resources. We are ambitious. We are looking at big things. And she agrees that in the past, we have mostly focused on membership. We've mainly depended on membership fee, but moving forward, we need to quickly and creatively diversify. So we've been thinking about what other activities we can do to help us generate the resources that will help us implement what we are thinking as an association. So those are the key activities. We've tried to summarize from what you submitted and from what the board members have been thinking. We have a number of special initiatives that we are also implementing, and special initiatives will require us to set up committees to implement them. But if we feel this special initiative can be integrated in one of the technical working group, they will be integrated. So far, we have one special initiative. We are calling it ZaMEA Cares. We want to provide a platform to implement mentorship. We want to provide a platform to implement social corporate activities for members. But ultimately, for ZaMEA Cares, we want to remind ourselves that the numbers we generate for most indicators, these are people. When we say so many people had malaria, these are people, they are just not numbers. When we say so many people do not have access to electricity, or so many children are literate or illiterate, these are people. We should find a way to remind ourselves that these are people. So the board has been thinking about an annual program under what we are calling ZaMEA Cares, where we will be doing some social pro bono work, sometimes visit a facility, sometimes visit a program, sometimes conduct anything that will allow us to do something that reminds us of the fact that these numbers, these are people. So some of the proposed activities really to constitute a team as a committee that we will start working on what pro bono activities or activities can we do under ZaMEA Cares for 2023. So they will identify the activity, develop a schedule or a plan. Then we also agree on how we'll mobilize resources that will help us do that. The other special initiatives we are already doing is one, strengthening the constituency M&D system is an initiative we have. We have developed a concept. We had started that in the last board. We submitted it to National Assembly. They are reviewing it. We want to contribute to strengthening accountability at the constituency level. We have made submissions of what activities we are ready to support and how we will do it. We already have a number of constituencies that have shown interest to support this as a pilot. Then it can be rolled out, hopefully, to other constituencies. There's more money going at that level. And as an association, we believe that we need strong systems so that we are accountable at that level. A competence framework, we want to understand the competencies. This will definitely, hopefully, go to the capacity building, but we want to understand the competencies of our members. We want to know at what level you are in terms of M&D competencies, and we want to grade our members. So there will be a framework we have started work on once the capacity, the upskilling program is done. Around the capacity, the ZaMEA upskilling, we hope to have a competency framework that will help us measure our competencies for all the members. Then we want to amend the constitution also. There are a number of lacunas or a number of gaps that we want to address. So there will be a committee also that will look at this and hopefully help us to review and implement and bring the amended constitution to the general membership for adoption. These are the ones I thought I could share. SG, I hope I was within the allocated time, but this is a summary of the activities that we have. Maybe before we go to questions, I would request the vice chair and the other board members just to add on what I've shared so far. Thank you. Or any board member can add to what I have shared so far. Raphael, if you are speaking, we can't hear you.
Thank you, Chair. From my end, I think you've ably presented and represented our thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, Mwamba, any thoughts?
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
No, I think we covered every aspect that nothing to add. Thank you.
Thanks. Johnny or Chifwembe?
Thank you, Chair. Am I audible?
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Chair, for that wonderful presentation. I think the submission were well presented, and I can confirm that everything that has been presented, representation of the board. Thank you.
Okay. Doreen, Bridget, then we can go to questions. Any thought?
You've adequately covered it, Chair. Thanks so much.
Okay. SG, maybe over to you to facilitate the next. Is it the Q&A?
Yes. Thank you so much, Chair, for the excellent and timely presentation. To all the attendees, please fill out the attendance link in the chat box with your information. So the link has been posted in the chat box. Just take some time to fill out the link. So we'll now begin the question and answer session. I would like to encourage all team members to feel free to participate. If you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand. We'll take questions one at a time. I'll ask Madam Margaret to take note of the questions posed by the team, and thereafter read them out so that we can get answers from the board members. Yes, Kanyamuna.
Yes, madam. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm okay, thank you. So just to say thank you to our chairperson, Mr. Kawe, thanks for the presentation. I think it was as clear as we could want it to be. And it is a rich presentation. Yeah, maybe for me, it's just a contribution in line with what could be considered for inclusion. I know that we have got few years to implement what we have put together, but ZaMEA lives on, and I want to think that one of the long-term special activities would be to, you know, the training institutions or the learning institutions. I think they constitute a very huge partner to ZaMEA, in that there are colleges these days, there are universities that actually teach monitoring and evaluation at different levels. Others, they are just components in a program. Others are standalone M&E courses. And
Hello, sir. We can't get you. Your mic has been muted. All right. I think Mr. Kanyamuna has dropped off the call.
Yeah, but I'm back. I think I dropped off. Yeah.
Okay, you can continue with your submission.
Yeah, maybe let me just ask the question. I don't know at which point you left me. Is it possible that ZaMEA can consider to collaborate with institutions of learning? Like me, I'm a lecturer at UNZA. Is it possible to partner or to collaborate with learning institutions who are teaching M1E? And the value add for ZaMEA will be to assist to review the curriculum for M&E, whatever course they're offering at endpoint, so that we are also sure at ZaMEA that even as we sit, we know that what is being taught in the country is that which we know about M&E. The emphasis in the presentation was how we need to collaborate with governments, how we need to collaborate with non-state actors. But I think it would be good if we were to probably consider getting involved actively in the curriculum which are taught by different institutions. Chair, maybe that's really what I wanted to contribute for now.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for that submission. I'll allow another question. Yes, Yakanumba.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
First of all, my name is Yakanda Mumba. Of course, a member of ZaMEA. I wanted to say thank you to the board, of course, through our able chair, Mr. Victor, for that wonderful presentation. I'm glad to say that I've seen a number of things that were raised previously. Most of them, or I should say all of them, have been actually added to the annual work plan, which is a wonderful thing to know. And this shows that as ZaMEA, definitely we added in the right direction. So with that being said, I just wanted to talk about two things. The first thing being capacity building activities that was presented. This is a very good thing, and based on one of the trainings, I would say, or upskilling of certain skills that were a session that was held last time. I noticed personally to see that people wanted to be part of that training, and unfortunately, after a certain number of maximum participants were reached, I think it was closed off. So I'm hoping to see a change as we proceed in our year, to see that a number of people will be actually allowed to participate and be involved in those capacity building activities that will be taking place during the course of the year. I hope an issue like what happened last time would not repeat itself, and hopefully we can handle it together as a team. That is one thing. So on that one, I would just want to find out exactly how these activities, capacity building activities, are going to be conducted, and probably to prevent what happened last time to reoccur. That is the first thing. Then the second part is that I'm glad I saw something that has to do with students, just like the previous speaker spoke about the lecturer from University of Zambia. It's very cardinal that we actually try to interact with these other schools and associations, try to see how we can work with them. So that being said, if we manage to interact with the students, it's going to open up a way where we're going to have a number in terms of number of students joining ZaMEA, and thereby increasing our membership. So speaking to membership, What I wanted to find out is there anything else that we're doing as individuals of ZaMEA in terms of recruiting members to our association? What is it that we're doing as individuals? Personally, as a M&E person, I know a number of colleagues that work in different departments or different organizations who are not part of ZaMEA. So what I'm looking to now is I want to see an activity that will be undertaken successfully, then get that activity and go and share with my colleagues in the hope that I can bring more members to ZaMEA. So my request is that as we implement the annual work plan, let's strive to make sure that these things come to fruition and the evidence, or there's evidence to support that this is what we've done, and after we've done that, these are the results and the benefits, so that we are able to share that with our colleagues and grow the general membership of the association. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. I'll allow Brenda to give her question.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the excellent presentation. I hope you're able to hear me. The network is quite bad on this part of the world, but I think my contribution, the first one has been touched on by Dr. Kanyamna on partnership with the academia. I think it's something that we had done, was it 2 or 3 years ago with UNZA and ZaMEA itself at the time with UNICEF. And I think there was so much value add in terms of the M&E curriculum. So I think that has been touched already. And then the other point I wanted to bring under, is it result area 1 or focus area 1 on capacity building? For this one, it's something that I've learned here. There's a program called the Budding Program under the association, where the seasoned M&E, specialists are kind of twinned with like the students. I think somebody already touched on this. So under the mentorship program, the likes of Dr. Kanyamna, the EN members and all would help like the upcoming M&E, graduates, if I may put it that way, to position them, for the M&E field. So I think it's just an observation and something I've learned here, and I've seen that it's working. And of course, I'm available should you need further details on this. Sorry, where I am, the network is bad. And then the other point is where you raised partnerships with organization. Again, it's a discourse that we had started discussing, I think 3 years ago, Mr. President. I don't know whether you still recall, but it's the issue of where as ZaMEA we offload, interns that are ready for the labor market. Again, this is also tied to the budding program, where there's some sort of readiness, of ZaMEA members upcoming. Even we look at partnerships with the university. We prepare these, graduates to be ready for the market. So these are my few submissions. I hope they make sense. Over.
Thank you so much for your submission, madam. We'll take the last question. Is there anyone who has a question or contribution? All right, it looks like no one has a question. Thank you so much for the questions. I'll allow Madam Margaret to read through the first question.
Pardon me, my network has been quite poor, but let me just type them up and send them, and can answer them after the Vice President's presentation.
Through the chair, SG, I think we got some of them. Maybe we can, maybe I suggest before we move on to the next presentation, we attempt to answer them as we have noted them. Yeah, I don't know what others think. Thank you.
Through the chair, I would propose let's respond. Is there any question, Vice Chair, you can take on? Doreen, Margaret, and the other two members. Is there any question that have been asked that you would take on? I can contribute at the end.
Okay, I think I just wanted to comment on the question that Mr. Yakanda, Mr. Mumba had brought up on training and how since there was so much, despite having so much demand, that had to be cut down. I just wanted to mention that that was just a pilot, and we plan to roll out a larger and more encompassing training program and upskilling program this year. So for those who missed out on the previous training for ARA, Excel, COBO and QGIS, don't worry, we are definitely going to catch up this year. And for those who are still waiting for their certificates, don't worry as well, we are processing them.
I can take up the first question on reviewing the curriculum on M&E. So like, the question was, are we participating in reviewing the curriculum on M&E? So I'm glad to inform the House that we already had that chat as a board, and we should be seeing more of such, I think, starting next month. So it's something that is already in the pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that.
So Chair, I can also add, to the responses. Thank you, Tim. We also want your contribution also. Thanks, Brenda. Thank Dr. Kanyamuna and everyone for your thoughts on how we can improve certain activities, budding, mentorship. But I wanted to touch on the training institution. I agree, it's one area that we need to focus on. What we are thinking is with the code of conduct that we want to implement, not the code of conduct, the upskilling. You saw that in the upskilling, we are trying to review what the capacity needs are in the industry. Based on that, we develop an upskilling program that responds, one, to the needs in the industry, and the training approach there would not be the way like training institutions use. We're trying to make it more practical. You'll see how different it will be. But it will also have, I just want to share something. I don't know if it will show. Margaret, sorry, I wanted just to confirm with the people that we are just finalizing, and I think it's final, the certificate that we will be issuing. We are calling it a certificate of completion. There will be specific modules that will do that. But based on the needs that we are identifying in the industry, we will also create a criteria that helps us assess a training institution's curriculum. So if we say UNZA is offering an M&E training, ZaMEA, we want to define what a good training should encompass. Based on the needs, we want to focus on what are the industry needs. There may be other things that training institutions want to cover, but our target is to make sure that our trainings are covering the needs of the industry. So we want to engage training institutions from that perspective. One is, how do we ensure that they are able to review using our criteria, the curriculum that they are offering. Two, we also want to ensure that the students are benefiting. We have a special package of activities for students in these trainings. That's one. Sorry, the other one I think has been touched. Membership. How are we recruiting membership? It's a good plan. I thought we need to be very clear on the package. And I think the communication and advocacy strategy is helping develop the content. We want, when people are marketing the association, we have the right content. We are speaking the same things. We are not saying that we sell fertilizer. We want to be clear on what we do. We don't want, when somebody's in a different area, they are talking about what we don't do. So we will be developing content that will guide you on how you market the association. But you'll see a lot of radio and TV programs to talk about the association. Thanks.
Mr. Raphael, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe just to add on the aspect of partnership with the institutions, maybe just to mention that what we've started doing now is to map, M&E practitioners out there. How many are they in each location, each province, and so on and so forth. But beyond that, also institutions offering M&E training, so that even as we reach that position where we have, the criteria ready, we already know which institutions are there, and so on and so forth. Then talking about the issue of recruitment at individual level, I think, which is a very good thing. I hope that's what we feel, all of us as members, is our road to sell ZaMEA out there, starting with our peers. But of course, that's the more reason why we've designed these activities, is to add value to the members. Once you see value, you appreciate, it will be difficult for us to keep it to ourselves, right? We'll definitely share with the rest. So that's the whole purpose. But all in all, once we see these activities being implemented, we benefit. Shall we take it upon ourselves to share and invite others, which is a very good contribution. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to add, Chair.
Okay, thank you so much for your submission. So that's all for today's question and answer session. I would like to thank the board members for their wonderful feedback and the brilliant questions from the audience. I will now allow the Vice Chairperson. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, we can get you.
All right. So next, I'll allow the Vice Chairperson to run us through the 2023 Technical Working Group discussion. Mr. Raphael, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. May I mention that as a new board, we were privileged to find that a lot of work was done by our previous able board, and we are picking it up from there. Okay, and one of these was the aspect of technical working group. Very brilliant concept. So we are picking it up from there. Okay, but even as we do so, there are a few lessons that we picked from the previous ones. The previous technical working groups. How best do we move forward? Okay, so as we move forward, we have a few suggestions. Okay, for instance, we are emphasizing on value addition by us members as we join the technical working groups. What value are we bringing, to the groups, based, of course, on our competencies, our experiences, our interests, and of course, our availability. We don't just want to see the quantity, but the quality, right? So we are thinking we reduce the number, in terms of the total number of people who join a particular technical working group. Okay, so to that effect, we are designing a Google form where people can express their interests based on their competences, experiences, interests, and so on and so forth. Then we'll recruit accordingly. Okay, but that doesn't mean that if we do not belong to any technical working group, then we cannot contribute. Contribution can be done in so many ways, right? By everyone. So our hope is that each and every individual member of ZaMEA will contribute in a little way to deliver the overall mandate. You've seen these exciting activities. These can only be achieved or realized if we work together as a team, whether we are in the technical working group or not. So we are thinking we move forward like that. Of course, we had shared, we had asked for some views, in terms of lessons in the previous technical working groups, but we didn't receive much. But fair enough, at least almost all of us belong to a technical working group. I belong to one. I won't mention the name, but I mean, sometimes we'll just be greeted and nothing else, but I mean, it was formed to deliver a certain, mandate. So now we are thinking, how best do we deliver? So hence these suggestions I've just mentioned. So do we have any thoughts on what I've just mentioned? Any concerns, any proposals, so that we move forward, more efficiently, we achieve our goals? And maybe before I forget, so deliberately, we've also, designed a reporting, or agreed on a reporting timeline, where each technical working group will be required to update the membership on the activities they planned, what they implemented, the challenges, and so on and so forth. And a template has been drafted to that effect, so that I think it will be almost compelled to deliver what we were expected to do. So may I have your thoughts quickly on what I've just said? Are we okay with those suggestions? Do we have any concerns? We are hoping maybe up to 15 members, for instance, maximum, a technical working group, bearing in mind that we are looking for value addition and not necessarily the numbers in those groups. Thank you. May I hear from the members?
Azimoto, you can go on and make your comment.
Okay, good evening, team. Thank you so much. Just a very exciting comment. Just last week, I saw an advert for this organization called DAI, DAI. It normally implements USAID supported projects. And then they wanted an M&E. And then one of the requirements was that you need to be a member of ZaMEA. For me, that was very good. And I felt like I think we are getting somewhere. This is good, team. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that submission, sir. We have another question in the chat box from Madam Brenda. It reads, what's the rationale for 15 members per technical working group? What is the rationale for 15 members per technical working group?
Thank you, Madam Brenda, for that question. So anyway, 15 was just arrived at as a number for a start, which is good and manageable, in terms of checking on who is active, who is not, any challenges, and so on and so forth. In other words, the lesser the number, the more the chances of each and every member likely to contribute. But of course, we are still open, to other views, proposals, provided we qualify them. So overall, the idea is to minimize the numbers, but without necessarily stopping the rest to participate or contribute. Thank you. Chair, you may wish to add, or indeed another member. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you so much for that question, Brenda. So we decided on the 15 based on the previous experience. So this has been a lesson from the past. I can give an example. Some of the technical working groups rather, we would have maybe a number which is amounting to 100 and Chakuti. And then you discover that most of the people were just seated like backbenchers, inactive members. So for us, 15 would work well this time because we would be able to monitor effectively the people that are able to participate and contribute to something substantial in that group. So that is why we decided to work with the 15. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that submission, Madam Bridget. I'll allow Natasha Kapepula to give her submission.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for the clarity on the technical working groups. I think it is a good idea that rather than having so many people who are not active or you have a certain number, my question then is, would we, if you're in a particular technical working group, or do all the technical working groups have a team lead, which would then be, are those the board members, or would the group be able to nominate those? And also, is there, for example, a specific number of times they must meet? So I do recognize that there is a template and that needs to be reported back on. And will there be a format on reporting? So for example, will we be having meetings similar to these ones where each working group reports back, or how is that going to be done? Or is this something that would then be discussed within the working groups? Thank you.
Thank you for the submissions, for the questions. I think there was also a question on the number of technical working groups. We have, I think they proposed 5 based on the thematic areas under which Chair shared those activities. That's communication and advocacy, capacity building and standards, professionalization, research evaluation and publication, then resource mobilization and partnership, okay? Then coming to the aspect of the second question rather, well, we don't want to dictate. We leave it to the technical working groups to decide, for instance, on the frequency of their meetings, and so on and so forth. But of course, what we provide as a guide is in the timelines, as in when do they report, and of course the reporting template to that effect. Thank you. I hope it's clear. And also maybe just to add, sorry, to say each technical working group will be supported or led by a board member, committee member, but of course, to be supported by 1 or 2 other members from within the technical group, which they can decide among themselves. I think that's the idea. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Vice Chair. We have a follow-up question from Madam Brenda. She's saying, she's asking if we have clear terms of reference for these technical working groups. Yes, so Madam Brenda is asking if we have clear terms of reference for these technical groups. Then she has also gone on to say we had suggested a review of the 2022 groups. Was this done? And if so, are you able to share what worked, lessons learned, and the way forward?
I can handle the one on terms of references for the technical working group. So the terms of reference are what is outlined under each area, under each technical area. So they'll be working to achieve what is stipulated under each of those technical areas. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Yes,
Madam.
May I add, sorry, Chair, may I also add to say, of course, it's still work in progress. We are still also just updating, especially after these working groups are fully formed and functional. We'll work with them just to update those terms of reference so that they are comprehensive, at least. Thank you. Then I think there was the question on the feedback. Yeah, I think I did mention at some point to say we had sent out a questionnaire to the former board members, especially because those are the ones that led those technical working groups. But unfortunately, only one, gave us feedback. We are hoping we can still learn more. Of course, some of them, we know them because we are part of those technical working groups. For instance, in the survey we undertook on the when we were getting your input, some of the issues that were coming, out as in having contributed to the inactiveness of some members is the lack of interesting activities. It seems we were not aggressive enough in implementing what we had planned as an association. So that put some of the members off, even in their participation, and in some cases, people were too busy, with their co-work, with the work that pays them, for instance, among other things. So we picked a few from that, but we are again open to hear from, especially the former board members, what really were their, experiences, especially from managing these technical working groups. Thank you. Chair, you may wish to add, and of course, any other board member.
Thanks, Vice Chair. Also, I wanted to add on the terms of reference that what we have laid down is the barest minimum. So members are free to use their innovativeness to achieve beyond what is stipulated in the work plan. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that submission. Due to lack of time, I'll ask Mr. Bernard to ask the last question.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Leonard, and good evening, everyone. I wanted just to find out on the TWG, especially on the part of the benefits to the members. Then I also wanted to find out to those, because earlier on, the chair, I think, had alluded to the fact that some of the people will be left out depending on the availability of the individuals. So now does the board realize the fact that if we go in that direction where other members would be completely left out in these TWG groups, won't you think that others will be losing out in terms of the benefits of the technical working groups? Thank you. I submit.
Thank you, Chair. That's an interesting question. Yeah, maybe let me start with the benefits. I think the benefit one is for everyone as we join ZaMEA, you know, of course, there are certain expectations that we're expecting to get. But you see, those expectations can only be realized if we implement these activities, right? And these activities we are planning, they can be better implemented more effectively through the technical working groups. So just that satisfaction that comes, you know, in contributing to the attainment of the realization of those objectives that we've set ourselves, that should surely give you satisfaction. And also, like I did mention, that contribution to the work of ZaMEA is not only through the technical working groups, but in various ways. Here we are presenting, for instance, and sharing the annual work plan, and you are giving feedback. That's contribution. And even as we move forward, as we are implementing activities, as we develop documents, briefs, you know, research documents, and so on and so forth, we'll be sharing with the membership for input. You know, look at how we handled the rapid assessment on the implementation of the national M&E policy. See how people participated. That's participation. So, like I did mention, contribution to the work of ZaMEA is not only through the technical working groups, but we'll be able to contribute in so many ways, and we'll be deliberate as a board to ensure that the general membership contributes. Thank you. Unless I left anything else, Chair, or indeed any other board member you may wish to add.
Thank you so much. So, as we'll be forming these technical working groups, let me give an example of a child, a 6-month-old baby. Okay. We know that a 6-month-old baby needs soft food like porridge and not really hard stuff to chew because they don't have teeth yet. So it's the same thing. We want to gauge the seriousness of the technical working groups. We also want the technical working groups to gain that momentum. So until we reach a time where the technical working groups will be able to handle a large number of people, when they are able to be self-sufficient, okay, that will be the time. Then that will be the time when we'll be able to bring more people on board. So for now, we just need those 15 members to spearhead and drive those technical working group meetings. So until they're self-sufficient, as they're sustainable, then we're going to bring more people on board. Over. Thanks.
Thank you so much for your submission. Dr. Kanyamuna, your hand was up. You can go ahead and make your submission.
Chair, my hand was up and down, if you saw it.
Okay.
Yeah, but of course, I just wanted to add that the technical working groups, they remain our lifeblood as ZaMEA to take us forward. So I put my hand down because I was trying to think if we can even consider to have a technical working group, which is going to look at looking for, you know, envisaging a time when we can
Am I the only one who can't hear the doc?
I can't see either.
I think his network is bad.
Okay. Allow me to
Osaka,
contribute.
my own offices and run. So I don't know really, but I wanted to just mention that these technical working groups, I think they need to continue to be not fixed. We should not fix them, Chair. We should be open to changing them. I think we need to refocus them. I'm even thinking to say, should we align our technical working groups to the pillars in our strategic plan, for example, or they are going to be themed around what ZaMEA is mandated to do. So sorry, I don't want to give a specific question, but just some wild thoughts as people are contributing were going through my mind, you know. Thanks, Chair. That's why you saw my hand coming on and down.
Thank you so much for submission, Doctor. I'll allow Mr. Victor Kawe to give his submission.
Okay, thanks. So Tim, I think the essence was to get your input and feedback. We've heard you on this one. We will think through it also to see how we can incorporate your thoughts. But we also hope you've heard us, like the Vice Chair and other board members have said. We thought through this and tried to look at reviewing our past performance. So what made these working groups are a bit ineffective, and some of the lessons have been incorporated, and these are the adjustments that you are seeing. So moving forward, we will think through and see if we can adjust the number. So board, we need to discuss based on this feedback on how we can move forward, or we maintain the 15. But we will not beat about the bush. We want people who are running, and we want to encourage people to bring fire and energy to these groups to help us. We have an ambitious program, and we are trying to see how best we can bring people with the energy and this figure to help us move forward. Then those that need more encouragement, more pampering, will join. But we have heard you, and we are going to definitely think through this. Our target is by next week, if I'm not mistaken, Vice Chair, to start recruiting, because we need to start implementing some of these activities. We want everyone's participation in the management or running of the association. We want everyone to contribute. And the technical working group and the committees I was telling you about are a platform that gives you that opportunity. But we also want it to be a bit competitive. Not just a straightforward given. No, we want it to be a bit, just like being in the board is becoming more competitive. We want, even in the technical working group, to catalyze it by making it a bit more competitive. And I think that will encourage more active participation from members. But having said that, we've heard you, we'll think through it and see how best we can adjust to incorporate your feedback. SG, over, back to you.
Thank you so much for your submission, Chair. I would like to thank the team for their participation in this segment and the wonderful presentation from the Vice Chair. So please fill out the attendance link in the chat box with your information. Having said that, I'll call upon Madam Margaret, our Vice Secretary General, so that she may take us through any other business segment of the agenda. Madam Margaret, over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam SG. Let me just share this. So under any other business, we have we've got three main topics, just some three updates we'd like to share with you. The first is the meeting we had with the Ministry of Finance and National Planning. Last week, Friday, on the 17th of March, we met with the Monitoring and Evaluation Unit of the Ministry of Finance. This is based at Zambia Statistical Office. So in general, we discussed the expectations from the Ministry of Finance and also our expectations and ways that we can leverage on our partnership with the ministry. So the expectations from the Ministry of Finance include our role in the implementation of the National Monitoring and Evaluation Policy. They expect that we'll take an active role in this process. In addition to that, they also would like ZaMEA to use its voice to advocate for more involvement in government affairs. And as a result, I think they'll be including us in a lot of their communication so that we can be up to date with what's going on in the government. Aside from that, they would also like to know and to see how ZaMEA will contribute towards the enhancement of monitoring and evaluation in the country. The Ministry of Finance would also like to review the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. So aside from, as part of our strategy, would also be providing a review on the Sustainable Development Goals, and also, of course, as you know, the 8th National Development Plan and the CDF. So aside from that, they also said that they also agreed that they would assist us in mobilizing resources, and that they would also help us in promoting the undertaking of evaluations around the country. So from our side, from our end as ZaMEA, and also as a way forward, we also agreed that we would leverage on them to advocate for more visibility. So that means that in meetings that the Ministry of Finance will be having and hosting, they'll always mention ZaMEA so that we can get more opportunities to engage with in the country's monitoring and evaluation systems. Aside from this, ZaMEA will also engage in evaluations and data quality audits as a way of raising resources. And I'm sure you've already heard that we will also have a technical working group that will deal with this. Aside from that, ZaMEA will also engage in independent evaluation and also in conducting and writing evaluation briefs for more visibility. And finally, as a way forward with from our meeting, the Ministry of Finance would help with resource mobilization through recommendations to their partners. The second item on our any other business was the campaign we undertook in the during this month, the month of March, which has been the Women's Month. So we published quite a number of articles. Those who follow us on social media will be able to attest to this. So we've published an article on gender and governance, an article on gender and education. We also published 2 spotlights on 2 of our members, M&E members that work in rural areas. I'd really encourage you to read those. And of course, as displayed here on the screen, the press statement that we published through the MAST. Then overall, this since we were elected as the board, we've had 3 board meetings. We had one that was, I think, the Sunday we were elected. We had one on youth, the holiday that followed Youth Day, and we had one a few days ago. This has all been to develop our 2023 annual work plan and budget. Thank you, Madam Secretary General. This is it from me. Are there any questions from the participants? No, any questions? Yes, Madam Brenda, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Maggie, for the good presentation and the updates in terms of engagement with the enabling environment kind of side. You did touch on the SDG reporting in terms of progress reporting. I think as ZaMEA, we may want to position ourselves. One of the things that has come out in the past when it comes to SDG reporting, particularly the voluntary national reviews, is in some countries, I'm not sure about whether Zambia was one of them, is the lack of evaluative evidence, either by
Sorry, I think we've lost you briefly there. I think, Madam Brenda, I don't know if you're still online, but would you kindly just type your contribution?
Okay. I was actually flagged out. I don't know why.
Oh,
okay. But anyway, I'll make my submission via one of the WhatsApp groups in the chat box. Thanks.
Yeah, that would, because we really liked your train of thought.
Okay, now I'll submit. Thank you. Thanks, Maggie.
If there are no more questions, can I hand back over to the Secretary General? I think Madam SG, I'll hand back over to you.
All right. Thank you so much for the updates under any other business, Madam Margaret. Next, I'll invite the Vice Chair to give the closing remarks.
Thank you, SG. Maybe just to start by thanking the members for joining. See the value we get, from your comments, input, and so on and so forth. Our prayer and hope is that we maintain this momentum. Of course, we would have loved more members to join, but of course, there are other reasons, I'm sure, that restricted them. So just to emphasize that you gave us the mandate, and we are committed to deliver. But also to mention that do not leave us alone. Please continue working with us, continue giving us your hand, through the technical working groups and otherwise. Otherwise, we cannot achieve what we've just presented on our own as a board. It's not possible. So we encourage and appeal, for your continued support. Keep us in check on what we promise to deliver on the work plan, even as we continue reporting on a quarterly basis and otherwise. And also just to emphasize again, don't feel left out, please. If you are not part of the technical working group, you can still input even more actively, if you so wish, than those who are members of the technical working groups. Because we will be intentional in terms of ensuring that there's, a platform or a mechanism to engage the membership as and when to get your input and so on and so forth. All in all, as a board, we are looking forward to this partnership. It goes without saying that these activities that you've outlined are quite exciting. And once implemented, be guaranteed, will never be the same again, okay? Some of us will be consultants, after we are baked properly and so on and so forth. All in all, would like to thank you again, for your support and appeal for more of such support. And of course, we are still open, like we indicated, for suggestions, in these activities, our strategies, in our operations, through the various platforms, that we have, and of course, through the technical working groups. All in all, we thank you and have a blessed evening, unless otherwise, Chair, you have one or two pressing issues.
Thanks, Raphael. I think you've summarized it. I'm not sure the next steps on the technical working group will communicate, I think, this week, tomorrow or Sunday, because we need to quickly set up this because we have to continue running. I think that's the only thing I wanted to mention. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. So having said that, we encourage everyone just to start to prepare themselves, based on the information on the technical working groups that we've shared. I'm sure we are able to see, based on our experience, expertise, where we can add value the most, so that even as we reach out through the Google form or otherwise, you are already decided on where you think you can fit properly. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a lovely evening. Back to you, SG, to close the meeting.
Okay, many thanks for the concluding words, Vice Chair. Thank you, everyone who attended today's meeting. The meeting is now adjourned. Pleasant evening.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.